Would like to start this meeting. We are calling it to order officially. The opening prayer will be given by our very own Rabbi Jonathan Beitch. Rabbi, please.
Thank you. In Pirkei Avot, we read that the sage Hillel reminds us not to separate ourselves from the community. On this advice, the commentator Ovadia Bartanura notes that Hillel's statement means that a person should join the community for both its celebrations and for its trials and tribulations. This also has been the rationale in worshiping together as a community. For when we pray by ourselves, we might ask for things that are detrimental to some. But when the community prays, we pray for things which are of benefit only to everyone. As we know, a reed on its own is easily broken, but a bundle of reeds standing together cannot be broken even by the strongest of winds. So too, when a community of people stands united, as we are, together against the storms of time and chance, it is better equipped to weather the storms and to come out of the other side unscathed or with little injury. During this year of COVID lockdowns, quarantines, and precautions, it might have felt as though we were disparate members connected through the TBE name only. But we found waiting for us online a community of sensitive learners, worshipers, board, committee, and task force members, all who may have gathered online initially to aid one another, but whose influence actually extended into other communities and whose agenda for progress moved us forward. Regardless of those challenges or any challenges, our community rose to the occasion in the past year. May we continue this tradition of involvement, of advancement, of progress, and of staying together as a community so that we can fulfill our ideals and dreams and values. Ken Yehi L'Ratzon, may this be God's will. And we say, Amen.
Amen. Rabbi, that was beautiful. Thank you so much for that beginning. Stephanie, our Executive Director, Stephanie Kushner, I'd like to call on you, please, to introduce our staff.
Okay, thank you. I'm trying to, I think the rabbi is still spotlighted. There we go. Okay, so thank you. So in a year of so many transitions, I am thankful for the stability of our amazing staff. Up until now, we employed all of our staff at their same levels. And we just had our first transition a few weeks ago, which has gone really smoothly. So I'd like to do a few thank yous to our great staff. So no matter what the delivery of worship, no matter how we had to do it, from where we had to do it, Rabbi Beitch and Cantor Nami continue to make sure it was spiritual and meaningful, working with families on life cycle events in situations where there were funerals, b'nai mitzvah, however, whatever the spiritual need was, they went above and beyond to make sure that, just like you saw from our High Holy Days, everything was spiritual and meaningful. Nicole Jar, our Director of Lifelong Learning, turned an entire in-person religious school and Hebrew school program to a successful, consistent, and engaging program that was virtual, taking all of the faculty, helping them learn all the technology needed so that they can continue to engage with all of our youth. Kendra Sager, our Associate Executive Director, continues to lead our engagement and oversee our communications, even during maternity leave, asked to come back just to make sure that our membership renewals was exactly how she had envisioned it and came back to help because she felt the need. Our office staff includes Melissa Osborne, who is not only our office coordinator, but is also now our finance coordinator, taking on much of our bookkeeping in our financial transition. As you know, she's always the friendly voice when you answer the phone, or I should say, when you're lucky enough to get her, and many of you call just to talk to her, and I realize the disappointment when I answer the phone. A lot of Cantor and Rabbi's appointments and keeping our calendar straight would not happen without Melissa's diligent work. Our facilities coordinator, Stephen Gregorius, certainly has not had any downtime, even with the closed building. helping me and of course Dan Esser with our HVAC installation and now a sanctuary remodel. There's always been something going on in a building even without our members, but in all of his new tasks, he says he misses the members and he misses the setup. So he's as happy as we are that we now have in-person Shabbats. Our program coordinator, Elisa Hoffert, has taken many of our special projects that we had this year, including organizing calls to our members and our current milestone member project and celebration, while continuing to be an amazing liaison for our social action committee, which, as you all know, is extremely busy. Our biggest transition this year was with our lifelong learning coordinator position. Kim Rosenthal has decided to go to school full-time, graduate school full-time, but in just the last week or so, Kathleen O'Connell is a new addition to our staff, and we think she'll be a great transition, a great lifelong learning coordinator, and is already working hard with Nicole to learn the ropes, and she's excited to be part of our community. I want to thank all of our youth engagement advisors, Joe Golden, who is a Madison school teacher and is stepping down from being our Maddie advisor, because as we all know, being a school teacher is hard work, but we are very excited to welcome Katie Parrish, who is already a religious school teacher, previously a member of our Promise Band, and she was in our Emerging Leaders program and a very engaged member with a lot of energy that the teens will love. Dan Maloney will continue as our Muddy advisor, and Allison Wexler will continue as our juniors advisor. So it's a great privilege for me to be able to work with a staff that gave 110% when all of our lives were turned upside down. They've always been there for all of members and staff. We've been there for each other with all of the technical issues, flexible, changing policies, ambiguity in these policies. And I really feel very fortunate to work with all of them. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. It's me again. Okay, so yes, it's Leslie. I'm here. There is Steve and there is not Steve, and I am not Steve, in case there's any question. So as not Steve, I would like to ask for an approval of the 2020 meeting minutes. May I have a motion from somebody to approve the minutes from the annual meeting from last year?
I so move. Mark Herstand.
Okay, Mark Herstand moves. And Dan, I see your hand. Does that mean you second? And Dan is going to second. Thank you so much. And by a call of aye, may I ask for just voices to approve the minutes, please?
Aye. Aye.
Great. Did somebody say no? No, okay, good, perfect. Also, I would be remiss if after Stephanie thanked all those wonderful people with whom we are so gifted to share our community and not mention, although it's possible that the actual Steve will mention later, that we have the blessing of Stephanie Kushner in our community. And Stephanie, thank you for all of the amazing things that you do for us every hour, every day. We are so incredibly fortunate to have you, and thank you is the least that we can say. I would like to now turn this this part of the meeting over to our immediate past president and chair of the nominating committee, Roseanne Anderson, to introduce the nominating committee report.
Thank you, everybody. As you can see on the screen, and as you received in USPS mailboxes, here is the slate for the next year, 2021 to 2022, Board of Directors, Board of Trustees of the congregation. Most of the officer positions switch over in even years, and this being an odd year, we don't have many changes. I would like to do the honor of reading each of the names aloud so we can fully appreciate everyone who is stepping up to serve. President Steve Lipton, President-elect Leslie Koff, Second Vice President Marta Karlov, Treasurer Carly Jacobson, Recording Secretary Michelle Gustafson, Immediate Past President, me, Roseanne Anderson, Men's Club President Mark Herstand, Sisterhood Co-Presidents Casey Becker and Rachel Leader. Trustees nominated for a 2-year term are Laurie Borcon, Gwen Jacobson, Marty Megeff, and Roger Wolkoff. Trustees continuing in the middle of a first term, Karen Horler, Julia Katz, Dorothy Paler, Linda Rivitz, and Jane Taves. Trustees nominated for a second 2-year term, Howard Erlanger, Susanna Goldberg, and trustees continuing in the middle of a second term, David Bookstaff, Dale Kaufman, and Suzanne Wolf. Also on the Board of Trustees is our Maddie president. Next year will be represented by Kate Mitchell, who is elected by Maddie. This year, we thank and appreciate retiring trustees Laura Lang, Jim Mackman, and Boris Nanide. And I would very much like to thank our nominating committee, who is serving basically for 3 years. And I hope that you will thank and appreciate each of these people also as you see them. Along with me, Leslie Koff, Susanna Goldberg, Amy Krauthammer Maloney, and Kendra Sager as our staff partner. Thank you. And a reminder that we are voting by paper ballot, and please get them returned to the Temple office by June 15th. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Roseanne. Thank you to the nominating committee. Rabbi Beich, Cantor Jacob Namey, would you like to install the trustees?
Certainly. It's an honor to be able to do this together with my partner on the Bima, my partner in the spiritual life in this community. And so we offer these blessings for us all, because the people who are nominated to serve these positions are indeed blessings. Holy One of blessing, bestow your blessing upon these leaders who have been nominated to serve our congregation, and theoretically they will be elected through the paper ballots. May they fulfill their mandate to lead and support our synagogue with a whole heart.
Instill in them insight as well as understanding, perseverance as well as patience, honor as well as humor, diligence as well as understanding, to identify with the needs and desires of our members.
Inspire them to work together in pursuit of our community's greatest aspirations, even as they serve as stewards to the synagogue's daily needs.
O God, we are grateful for the dedication and giving spirit that bring these men and women before you and before us, these leaders who are both new to or seasoned by the tasks at hand. They are prepared to devote their energies to your service and to the benefit of us all.
Grant success to their endeavors and help them to lead us in the pursuit of our sacred mission. We now confer upon them the priestly benediction of our people, granting them the authority to serve as members of this board of trustees and as leaders of this synagogue, but also seeking God's protection and beneficence as they lead and serve.
Yivarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha.
May God always praise you and watch over you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
May God radiate light and loving kindness toward you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha ve'yasem lecha shalom.
May God always bring the divine presence before you and grant you all and us all a term, an era, a future of peace. And we all say,
Amen.
And we offer Shehechianu at this very, very happy time for us all.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו בזמן
Mazel tov to everyone.
Thank you, Cantor. Thank you, Rabbi, and Mazel Tov to all our current and new board members. We're now going to switch gears as we have our reopening panel. The reopening panel will be I will lead the panel, and we will have Leslie Koff, Nicole Jar, Rabbi Beitch, and Alan Schwartzstein. So I'll just introduce kind of where we're at and what we've been doing over the last year. As you know, there's been a Staying Safe in Changing Times task force, which is made up of Leslie Koff, Alan Schwartzstein, Barry Goodall, Nancy Brower, Susanna Goldberg, Julia Katz, as well as the exec staff, Rabbi Cantor, Nicole, Kendra, and myself, and Stephen Gregorius. And as we have been in these very changing times, we have used both public and government health guidelines to be data-driven in how we make decisions, as well as understand the needs of our community, which may be more conservative than what has been suggested. We've appreciated everybody's flexibility in understanding the policies that we've come up with, and as we go forward. So I'll just give you kind of a state of where we're at right now, and then the panelists can each speak, and we'll open it up for questions that you guys might have. So currently, hopefully you all know that every Friday night we have in-person Shabbat worship and live streaming. The live streaming is not going to go away, thank goodness. So we do have a maximum capacity of 40 while we are inside, and 30 on the terrace, only because of space constraints. That's the difference. We are still, as of this moment, requiring masks both inside and outside. And we are really happy about the fact that we can start to have more in-person worship. Our B'nai Mitzvah are in person with the same limits and procedures as Shabbat worship, as well as any other life cycle events, such as a funeral that we'll have on Monday. So we are slowly opening our building. So with that, I'm going to start spotlighting our task force members. And as I do that, I will call on Alan Schwartzstein to lead off.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Yeah.
I think I can sum up my comments in 2 words: hopeful and cautious. The news in the recent weeks on the prevalence of COVID cases, positive testing, hospitalizations, deaths, the percentage of the community who are fully vaccinated, and the safety of those vaccinations, along with other knowledge we've gotten from the sources that Stephanie mentioned, have been very encouraging. I say this on behalf of all of us as individuals in returning towards normal living, as well as our temple goal of returning the community to worship and other activities. That's the hopeful part. You all probably also recall a few weeks ago, the CDC came out and stated that it's now safe for fully, Leslie, are you shaking your head at me? Okay. Safe for fully vaccinated individuals, meaning 2 weeks following the second Pfizer or Moderna vaccine, or 2 weeks after the single Johnson & Johnson vaccine, to essentially resume all activities, go anywhere. This again seemed very hopeful. But there was not clear messaging from these sources on what happens when that fully vaccinated individual, me or anyone else, walks into that closed space with a mix of other individuals. some of whom are not vaccinated, some who are at increased risk for serious disease and perhaps cannot get the vaccine, some who are too young so far to get the vaccine. And I realized after thinking about this that the task force making decisions, wise decisions and safe decisions for the community on opening up safely was going to be even more of a challenge than the difficult ones we had to make in terms of closing down because of that. So here's the reason for the caution. So the task force is proceeding cautiously in opening up, despite some of the announcements you've seen in the last 2 weeks from Public Health, Madison-Dane County, from the CDC. Our next meeting is on Tuesday, and we'll be considering some options then for opening up. And we'll just approach this cautiously. As Stephanie suggested, we'll probably go slower than some other organizations, probably faster than some others, but we're kind of taking into account to what extent do we need to protect the community and the people in the community from getting sick in the building? To what extent do people take their own responsibility for being there? And a lot of other decisions. I'll say that as a healthcare professional, I'm quite cautiously optimistic that the next few months are going to lead to more positive changes and getting more back to normal. But I hesitate at this point to make any predictions on how soon and what changes. So I think I'll stop there, Leslie or Stephanie, and I'm not sure who's next.
Yeah, thank you, Alan. Nicole.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So we are carefully considering how we are doing things with the guidance of the Staying Safe in Changing Times Task Force. There has been a couple decisions that we have made, and hopefully we can continue with these decisions as our numbers in Dane County continue to work in all of our favor. So at this point, we can say that we are planning on religious school to be in person on Sunday mornings. The session has been extended from what has been 2 hours on a Sunday to 2.5 hours on a Sunday to really foster relationships and community building and getting back to knowing each other in our special community. I am planning on offering special online education for religious school for special circumstances. So anyone who requests us online for religious school will be something that I would work closely with a family on doing. So not offering an online program, but just working one-on-one with families. For Hebrew school, we would like to follow the national model that actually started before COVID, and that is Hebrew school will be online on Wednesdays. We did very well. Our attendance was very high. Our engagement with teacher to student teachings and learnings was very high. We're going to stay with the 1 hour program on Wednesday afternoons, and that will be online. However, we are offering an option to be in person for families who would like to definitely have Hebrew instruction in person. So that's slightly different than religious school, but definitely trying to meet the needs of all of our families, all of our learners in a post-COVID world. And that's it for me today as we move on to, I believe, Rabbi.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, again. Just in a few brief words, when we talk about High Holy Day worship, which is what I've been asked to mention today, we are, as I'm sure you've heard it before here, we are carefully considering the different options that will be available to us. At some point, the task force for staying safe in changing times will decide upon the number of people which can safely sit within the sanctuary confines on High Holy Days. Whatever that number is, we will let people know, and then we will deal accordingly with how we welcome people into the community. We do anticipate broadcasting on one platform or another the worship that we have. We are planning on having a fusion of two different congregations at that time. We are fusing together our in-person congregation as well as our at-home or wherever people will be worshiping, to plan to bring them together in one community of joy and worship on that day. You know, some people may say, why is your approach more conservative, perhaps, than other businesses and other concerns in Dane County or across the country or the world? And I think there are a couple of reasons for that. One, the value of pikuach nefesh in Hebrew, or the saving of life, is so critical to us that we don't know exactly who has been vaccinated and who hasn't been vaccinated. We know, for example, that children under the age of 12 certainly have not been vaccinated. And we want to be sure that we keep people at safe distances in one another, to keep people in their family groupings, in order to assure ourselves that the distance between the different family groupings can help to bring about healthy situations and safe situations. So that's one thing. And the other is that our synagogue is unique among all the other concerns and businesses that may be. It may be similar to some and dissimilar to many, but the way that we offer worship with joyful singing, in what we usually do is joyful singing and joyful reading and joyful participation, some of that we have to be certain is as safe as possible given the times that we are in. And so we, at the task force level and at the staff level, will be making a lot of important decisions this coming summer about how we proceed, how many people will be sitting in the sanctuary, and then we will inform the community accordingly. And I'll pause there and perhaps take questions later on. Let me turn now to Leslie.
Hi there. Thank you so much. Some of what I'm going to say was touched on by my other colleagues here on the panel. Please understand, you have heard the words that the recommendations that we're coming up with were very, very carefully considered. You heard that language before. The Task Force for Staying Safer in Changing Times has been meeting almost weekly for 13, 14 months. And so a lot of time has been spent, a lot of deliberating, looking at data, and please understand that what we're doing has really, a lot has gone into it. The thing that I've been asked to say was that we encourage vaccinations here at Temple Bethel for all who are able to receive vaccinations. The more people who are vaccinated, the faster our community can come together again in full strength. Thank you so much. I will turn it back over again.
Great, thank you. And now we'll open it up for questions. You can either put them in the chat, or hopefully maybe if you want to raise your digital hand, I'm hoping I can see everyone. But we have the first question, Nicole, is what do you anticipate the hours for religious school? 9 to 11:30, 9:30 to 12, or other?
Well, that is a wonderful question, and the question that we deliberated over at our youth education committee. We have split the difference, and we are starting at 9:15 and ending at 11:45.
Thank you. Alan, this question is for you. So why is Temple requiring masks when the Dane County is no longer requiring masks and I can go to Costco without one?
It's a very good question, and that's one of the questions I anticipated coming. I think the first answer I would give, I'll give the first two answers which came already. One, we're being cautious. We are a congregation of people who share spiritual and religious views, and I'm not going to attempt to repeat the Hebrew words that Rabbi said, but essentially the importance of life and of preserving life and keeping life safe is very important for us. He also mentioned singing. One of the issues that has come up is about the choir practicing, and we knew at the very beginning back last spring that singing, particularly projecting, can be what's called a super spreader event. Any coronavirus viruses that are in a person's throat when a person sings can project over virtually the entire social hall or the entire synagogue area. And so that's why I've been so cautious about this and why the rabbi and Jacob have been behind plexiglass shields with masks on. We are moving towards the idea of not requiring masks, but some of the question at this point is, if we don't require masks, are you as individuals or the other congregants, are you going to feel comfortable not wearing a mask, knowing that someone may be in the building who's not vaccinated and is not wearing a mask? What are the risks? You know, this risk of getting sick if you have been fully vaccinated is very small. It's about 1 in 10,000 of getting sick. It's about 1 in 100,000 of being in the hospital. But if you're that one person, that matters a lot. And so we're trying to tell a bit of a line here between responsibility for the community and giving individuals responsibility for themselves. It's been the topic of a couple of conversations that we've been having. So I hope that gives a general answer to that question, and I can follow up if you have further questions.
Thank you. And Leslie, this question is for you. What is the current thought on asking people about their vaccination status?
That is a great question, Dale. A lot of people are asking that question. We talked about it for a long time in the task force meeting that we had 2 weeks ago. I have to say that at the present time, we are not going to be directly asking people what their vaccination status is. We are saying to people that as I stated previously, that we are encouraging everybody to do this so that we can come together as a community with the understanding that we're thinking about each other. It's possible that will change, but for the time being, we are on the honor system because we are a compassionate care community and we are thinking the best about each other.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for our panelists? I'd just like to say, as the task force continues to meet, as Alan said, we have harder decisions to make coming up than even we did. I always say budget, building, everything is a lot easier to do to close a building than to reopen it in an uncertain environment. But as we do change procedures, we will constantly be communicating those out to the congregation via email, via announcements from Rabbi and Cantor at worship. They'll be on our website. So, and we will make sure that everybody knows all of the ways that you'll get this communication. So one more, Leslie, do you have a question or are you going to read Betsy's question?
I was going to read Betsy's question. Betsy Abramson has said, will there be ONIGs, other events, meetings, etc., indoors that are allowed food? And our response to that is, this is one of the carefully considered things that we are discussing. I would venture to say, using Alan's language, we are cautiously optimistic that this is coming very soon. I would say within a number of weeks, if all continues to go well. And we are watching the county numbers very carefully.
Thank you. Other questions? All right, well, thank you, panel. Obviously, if you have any other questions, you can always reach out to any of us.
So I think at this point, I'm once again the MC. I've taken off my medical hat and I'm putting on my MC tie, and I'm holding my MC hammer. Okay, I said that for Steve's benefit because he would say something exactly like that, as you know. So it is the Steve time, and I would like to introduce Steve Lipton, President of Temple Bethel Board of Trustees, for the President's report. Steve, you're muted.
Sorry, can you not hear the video? Okay.
Yes, Stephanie, I don't know if you hit share computer sound when you shared your screen. You may have to reshare.
Okay. Thank you. Let's see. I just see that it's, oh, thank you. Got it. Did we mention that the Cantors are IT expert? Another skill. Okay, I'll start this back.
A virtual hello to everyone, and thank you for attending tonight. I'm on a little getaway with my wife Janelle and unable to attend this evening. Thank you to President-elect Leslie Koff for stepping in and running the show. We've been through a remarkable year in transformation as a Reformed Jewish community here in Madison and beyond. I can't say these things enough. We are emerging from the pandemic a strong community. Our temple team, lay leaders, and volunteers stepped up, created, and moved us. Our clergy creatively and spiritually led us in virtual worship, using all kinds of new technologies and never missing a beat. After all, who knew Cantor was a part-time IT tech? Our religious Hebrew schools and adult education moved into the virtual world, keeping it all moving forward and life events like B'nai Mitzvah happening. Thank you to everyone for the quarantine kitchens, the trivia night, the worship, the education, and so much more. Thank you to our outgoing board members, our continuing board members, and our new board members. And finally, thank you to our clergy, educators, TBE team, and those who give tremendously of their time in lay leadership roles. Now, it's time to transition again. We are reopening and working hard to make sure that we are doing it safely and respectfully of everyone's needs. We strongly encourage all to get a COVID vaccination, and yet know some may choose not to. We will open our building and events with guidelines that respect everyone's needs and protects the health of all of our members. Our panel tonight will share the details, and my only ask is that you follow the guidelines in the spirit of helping all of our temple community. Respect and understanding are the keys. Our building has improved over the last year with everything from new HVAC to a fantastic sanctuary remodel. I am especially proud of our new sanctuary that will have flexible seating, state-of-the-art audiovisual, including for the hearing impaired, and a fresh look. Technology for ongoing streaming will now become a regular part of our worship. Just wow, and a big thank you to all of those who donated to make our sanctuary remodel happen. We can't thank you enough. I am also excited to share the acquisition of 2 Torah scrolls that survived the Holocaust and that will now live at Temple Beth El. Having these very sacred Torah as part of our community is an honor that we will all be able to share in. We are now entering the 2nd year of our Temple Community Contribution Program. This program invites you to participate in a partnership of giving that reflects your core values and honors the principles of our TBE Foundation. We will continue to ask you to give as you are able, while reflecting on what brought you to Temple, what inspires you, and what you have helped to sustain. Without your contributions, we cannot continue. As we go forward, we all need to understand that our ability to sustain our level of services and community relies on you. Soon, we will again hear our children's voices in our hallways, rooms, and sanctuary. Schmoozing will happen again in our Sunday morning cafe. Our voices will fill our beautifully updated sanctuary with prayer and ruach. And we will come together for fun events and, of course, life events. Sustaining and growing our community requires your volunteerism and your financial support. Our development committee will continue working to creatively look for ways to fund our future. We all know that there are many asks of our time and treasure. As you look at these, please always consider our Reformed Jewish community here at Temple Beth El, either through giving your time, your financial support, or both. Thank you all so much. It is a privilege being president of this congregation, and I thank you again for all your support you have given Temple Beth El.
Thank you so much, Steve. Thank you for joining us for such a brief time. We're happy that you were able to take time away from ice cream to join us. So back to me again. We just have two more additional things. First of all, if you remember when Roseanne presented the slate, she mentioned that the ballot to vote on the slate came in the mail this week, and it has to be returned by mail by each of you before June 15th. It has to be received by June 15th. So if you could dig onto your kitchen counter, wherever you drop that envelope, and please vote and return it. It's also important on that ballot, there is a voting on a change in bylaws, which was outlined in the email that Kendra sent late this afternoon, which reminded you to come to this meeting. Please review the change in bylaws, please vote on it, and then please return it. The bylaw change and the slate. Thank you so much. Okay. In a few minutes, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn to breakout rooms and to adjourn the meeting. The breakout rooms are for social engagement. If you want to chat with people, it's a super fun time to do that. You're going to have time to do that. We're not serving food today, but I hope there's something in the house that you can snack on. I would say that now is a time that we can entertain any additional questions, anything that did not come up. Can we do that, Stephanie? Just for a couple minutes? All right, I'd like to ask if there are any questions before we entertain the motion to adjourn to breakout rooms.
Marty.
Marty, you're muted, Marty. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I did read over all the bylaw changes, and there was a lot of work involved in that. I was just wondering who was on that committee to handle the bylaw changes.
I would like to recognize Gwen Jacobson and Dan Esser and Stephanie Kushner. Stephanie, who am I missing?
Roseanne, exec staff had a big role in coming up with the new committee names and committee descriptions led by Kendra.
Yeah, all of those people, a community effort, Marty.
Yeah. Well done.
Any other questions? Stephanie, I can't see all the people.
Yeah, I'm looking. Speak up if you, I don't see any hands or.
Bonnie,
Oh,
I have
Bonnie.
something.
Bonnie.
I have something I'd like to add. I'm Bonnie Denmark Friedman, past president. I missed the very start of the meeting. I'm sorry, but I would like to wish Gwen Jacobson well. I have gotten to know Gwen over the past few years, and she's one of our most remarkably talented and committed leaders. And we will miss you, Gwen. I hope all is well with your family.
We hope that the wonderful, talented Gwen will circle back into leadership. She's had some personal opportunities, which it behooves her to take advantage of at this time, but we're not letting go of her yet. Gwen, we're not letting go of you.
I have no desire to be let go of. Thank you so much, Bonnie. That was unexpected and so flattering. It has been a thrill to be able to work so closely with Steve and Leslie and the board and all of our fabulous past presidents. And as Leslie said, I have had a work opportunity come up, and that does not prevent me from being on the board, but prevents me from spending as much dedicated time as would be required to be a president in the future. But you will see me at board meetings. I am not going anywhere.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else have something to contribute or a question?
Just a question. Leslie, I put my hand up, but a question. First of all, a lot of great work by a lot of awesome folks, and kudos to everyone, and thanks so much, especially such a challenging year and a lot of hard decisions to be made. Just a request, I think for the future, I don't know if does not need to be changed now, but when looking at bylaws and looking at the original version and then looking at the updated version. And then I think also, I think it was Kendra who sent out just a nice, almost, I want, call this an Excel spreadsheet of the different changes. All that's great. I think traditionally when I have on various companies, corporations, meetings, whatever, that I've been part of, whenever we do a bylaw update with something that's kind of lengthy, usually we see kind of a scratch off. In other words, where you highlight off the changes from what the original form is to the next. And so just as an encouragement, I think in the future, if possible, if I could ask that when while a clean version was sent out, it actually helps when we see the what they call the edited version with the markup. So just a point of comment when we're sharing for bylaw changes or something that's very lengthy, that does help. Even though the spreadsheet's there, it helps, but it's even more helpful when you're actually looking at versus back and forth. So more of an ask for the future, but nothing, I think that's hardcore for now. Thanks.
Thank you, Sanford. That's very useful feedback. I appreciate it. Anybody else? Can you see anybody, Stephanie? Speak up.
Nope, I don't see anyone.
Nobody else. All right. Well, then I am calling for a motion to adjourn this meeting, but to specify to adjourn to breakout rooms so that people can talk to each other. Who would like to make such a motion?
Dan.
Okay, do I have a second?
Marta.
Yay, Marta. Okay. Everybody in favor of adjourning this meeting and calling it into breakout rooms, then please say aye.
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 Please feel free to join breakout rooms. Enjoy this beautiful day. Stay healthy. And thank you for being a part of our wonderful, compassionate community.
And Leslie, thank you for leading such a great, smooth annual meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Great job.
Thank you, not Steve.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, so go ahead and stay on if you want to be moved to a breakout room. It's fine.
How many people were? 23?
They're down to 23. It was at 44 at one point.
Let's see.
I think we need Cantor to be techie for us to tell us how we go into breakout rooms.
I'm getting there. I'm getting
They're
there.
not- it doesn't seem that they have them set up yet. It's all right. I'm sure it'll
I'm
just be a
getting there.
moment.
It lets those that
I
are,
think we just said hang around and schmooze.
well, we're getting to a point where like the number of people might just be better to hang out, but
I think it was a really wonderful, a short meeting, but a very direct and very easy to follow and well done and well coordinated. So kudos to all.
Let's stay together, Stephanie.
okay,
Is
that's
anybody?
great. It makes it easier for me. Okay.
Do we still want to record?
No.
Yeah, we could probably stop the recording, whoever is
Oh,
recording.
yeah. Thank you.